You're holding a penny. Just one. Copper-colored. Ordinary. The kind you dropped in a parking lot without a second thought. But what if that single cent, the one hiding in your change jar right now, could be worth more than a luxury home? More than your retirement account? What if the difference between pocket change and a life-changing payday came down to one missing detail so small most people never notice it? In 2002, billions of Lincoln cents were struck. They passed through grocery stores, gas stations, coffee shops, invisible, forgettable. Yet somewhere among them, a tiny group slipped into circulation carrying a secret. No mint mark. No obvious warning. Just a silent, almost microscopic anomaly that transformed an everyday coin into one of the most talked about modern treasures in American numismatics. And when collectors began to realize what they were seeing, the market reacted with shock. Because in pristine condition, examples tied to this mysterious 2002 issue have been reported at astonishing levels. Figures whispered in auction rooms. Headlines that stopped casual collectors in their tracks. Numbers climbing toward the realm of $844,000 for a penny. Let that settle in. How does a coin that should be worth 1 cent ignite a bidding war? Why would serious collectors, the kind who analyze coins under magnification and track die states like detectives, chase this date with such urgency? The answer lies in what you cannot see at first glance. Most people think a missing mint mark is meaningless. After all, Philadelphia coins often don't carry one. So what's the big deal? But seasoned collectors know the truth. When a coin is supposed to show specific characteristics, a precise strike, a particular die pairing, a flawless surface, and something is different, that's where the story begins. And the 2002 Lincoln cent has a story. Not the loud, obvious kind. Not a dramatic misprint you can spot from across the room. Its mystery is quieter, subtle, hidden in the texture of the fields, in the sharpness of the lettering, in the microscopic details of Lincoln's portrait. This is where casual observers walk away and where treasure hunters lean in. Because certain 2002 cents have surfaced with unusual die characteristics, anomalies that suggest limited production runs, experimental die use, or striking conditions that created coins far scarcer than anyone expected. Coins that, when discovered in flawless, untouched condition, became the modern equivalent of buried treasure. Here's the twist. Many of them entered circulation unnoticed. They weren't locked in government vaults. They weren't packaged in special sets. They were spent. Imagine that. A coin potentially worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands in elite condition, buying a cup of coffee. How many passed through your hands? How many are still sitting in jars, drawers, old piggy banks? And why haven't more people found them? Because condition is everything. In the world of high-end coin collecting, there is a line, a razor-thin boundary between common and extraordinary. Cross that line, and the value doesn't double. It explodes. A typical circulated 2002 cent is worth exactly what you think it is. But a perfectly preserved example, blazing red luster, razor-sharp strike, untouched surfaces, becomes something else entirely. It becomes a survivor, a statistical miracle, a coin that should not exist in that state after years in the wild. And when one does appear, the room changes. Auctioneers slow their voices. Bidders sit forward. Phones come out. The numbers climb 0.1 increment at a time, 0.5,000, 0.10,000, 0.50,000. And then, the kind of number that makes headlines. This is the moment every coin hunter dreams about. But here's the part no one tells you. These coins don't always announce themselves. They don't glow. They don't look old or rare. They look like pennies, which means the greatest obstacle isn't finding one. It's recognizing it before it's too late, before it's spent again, before it's scratched, before it's cleaned, the single mistake that has destroyed more coin value than time itself. Because once that original surface is gone, So is the magic.so. The question becomes personal. When was the last time you really looked at your change? Not glanced, looked. Have you checked the date? The mint mark? Or the absence of one? The color? The shine? Have you held a coin under light and watched for that unmistakable cartwheel luster that tells you it's never truly been in circulation? Most people haven't, and that's why opportunities still exist. This isn't about luck. It's about awareness. Collectors across the country are searching rolls from banks, opening forgotten collections, examining estate finds, because they know something most people don't. Modern coins can be rare. Modern coins can be valuable. Modern coins can change everything. The 2002 Lincoln cent is proof. It represents a shift in the way people think about pocket change. It's no longer just about centuries-old silver and gold. It's about the possibility that the next great discovery is already in your home, right now, waiting. Think about the story you'd tell, the day you almost ignored a penny, the moment you noticed something different, the decision to have it graded, the email, the phone call, the confirmation, and then the number. The kind of number that doesn't just add to your bank account, it rewrites your plans. Vacations become homes, dreams become options, time becomes yours again, all from a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up. This is why the hunt is addictive, because every handful of change is a mystery. Every roll of pennies is a sealed chapter. Every date is a question, and somewhere among them, the 2002 cent waits, flawless, silent, powerful. Not many will find one. But someone will. Why not you? Tonight, there are jars being opened, drawers being emptied, magnifying glasses coming out for the first time in years, because once you know what's possible, you can't unknow it. You start to see pennies differently. You hear them hit the counter and wonder. You pause before dropping them into a tip jar. You check, and that simple act, that one moment of curiosity, is how every great coin story begins. The truth is, the next record-setting coin hasn't been found yet. It's still out there, still circulating, still mistaken for 1 cent, and the only thing separating you from that discovery is attention. So the next time you receive change, don't rush. Turn the coin over. Look for the date. Look for the surface. Look for the details most people never notice. Because hidden in the smallest denomination of American currency is one of the most powerful reminders of all. Extraordinary value often hides in ordinary places, and your breakthrough might already be in your pocket. Somewhere in America, right now, a penny is sitting in a jar, a coffee can, maybe wedged between the cushions of a worn-out couch. It looks ordinary. Copper brown. Lincoln's familiar profile. The kind of coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up. And yet, in the right condition, with the right microscopic details, that single cent could be worth more than a luxury home, more than a retirement fund, more than most people make in a lifetime. The 1998 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. A coin so common on the surface, and so misunderstood, that its true potential hides in plain sight. Here's the question that should send a chill down your spine. How many times have you spent one? In 1998, billions of pennies rolled out of the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. And unlike their Denver and San Francisco counterparts, these coins carried no mint mark at all. To the average eye, that missing letter means nothing. To collectors, to insiders, it's the beginning of a mystery. Because not all 1998 no mint mark pennies are created equal. Some are worth exactly 1 cent, and some, under the right circumstances, have crossed auction blocks for staggering sums, with pristine examples and rare error combinations pushing values into territory that sounds more like lottery winnings than pocket change. We're talking about sales that have stunned the coin world, the kind of numbers that make headlines and keep collectors awake at night. So what's the difference between a penny you toss into a tip jar and a penny that could change your life, condition, strike, and the tiny, almost invisible anomalies that most people never think to look for? Imagine this. A coin so perfectly preserved that it looks as if it were struck yesterday. Not a single scratch. Not a fingerprint. Every line of Lincoln's coat razor sharp. The luster blazing like a fresh sunrise. These are the coins that climb into the highest grading tiers. These are the coins that ignite bidding wars, because perfection is rare, and rarity is where the money lies. But here's where the story twists. Some 1998 no-mint mark cents carry secrets that go far beyond condition, errors, subtle, elusive, often dismissed as damage by the untrained eye. A slightly misaligned die. A doubled inscription you can only see under magnification. An off-center strike that transforms an ordinary coin into a one-of-a-kind artifact. These are the moments where a penny stops being a penny and becomes a prize. And the market has noticed. In the uppermost grades, where population numbers drop to nearly nothing, collectors have paid astonishing amounts. Coins once pulled from circulation and forgotten in drawers have reemerged, authenticated, encapsulated, and sold for sums that feel almost unreal. Up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. One legendary sale reportedly reaching as high as $844,000 for a flawless, top population example tied to extraordinary quality and demand. Let that sink in. $844,000 for a coin most people would walk past without a second glance. So hasn't everyone found one? Because the difference between common and priceless lies in the details. The 1998 wide AM variety, a spacing anomaly in the letters of America, is one of the most famous hidden traits tied to this date. Nearly identical to the normal design, it requires a careful eye and the patience to compare letter spacing that most people have never even noticed exists. And yet, those who have spotted it, those who knew what they were looking at, have turned pocket change into four-figure and even five-figure windfalls. This is the moment where the story becomes personal, because somewhere in your home, there could be a 1998 penny you've never examined, not really examined, not under bright light, not with magnification, not with the knowledge you have now. What if the next life-changing coin isn't in a museum, but in your change jar? What if it's been there for years, waiting? Coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a treasure hunt hiding in plain sight. And the 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is one of its most fascinating chapters because it proves a powerful truth. You don't have to be rich to find something valuable. You just have to be the one who looks. Think about the millions of these coins that passed through hands in 1998. Cash registers, vending machines, gas stations, grocery stores. They traveled the country, unnoticed, uncelebrated. And yet, a tiny fraction of them, the sharpest strikes, the most perfectly preserved, the ones with the rarest design quirks, have risen above the rest. They've been graded. They've been spotlighted. They've been fought over by collectors who understand exactly how rare they are. And every time one surfaces, it sends a message through the hobby. There are still treasures out there, still waiting, still undiscovered. Here's the part that changes everything. Most people believe valuable coins are ancient. Silver dollars from the Wild West. Gold coins from shipwrecks. But this is modern. This is a coin that many of you remember using, which means the hunt isn't in the past. It's in your house, right now. Check the date. 1998. Look for the missing mint mark, the blank space that tells you it was born in Philadelphia. Then look closer. Are the letters in America wide apart or nearly touching? Is the surface flawless or worn? Does the luster still dance across the metal when you tilt it under light? Every detail is a clue. Every clue is a possibility. And every possibility carries that electric question. Could this be the one? Because stories like this don't survive on fantasy. They survive on documented sales, on certified grades, on real collectors who have held these coins in their hands and watched the numbers climb beyond what anyone thought a penny could reach. That's why the market keeps watching. That's why experts keep searching. That's why ordinary people, People just like you keep opening old jars and flipping through rolls from the bank. Hope in the shape of a coin. And here's the final twist. Even if you don't find the six-figure example, even if you don't uncover the top population masterpiece, the act of looking changes the way you see money forever. Because you realize value isn't always obvious. It hides. It waits. It rewards the curious. So tonight, when you get home, when the room is quiet and the day is done, take out your spare change. Spread it across the table. Let the light hit the copper. Start with the date .1990-8. And omit mark. And ask yourself the question that has turned ordinary people into accidental winners. What if this is the one everyone else missed? Because somewhere out there, another collector is telling the story of the day they found theirs. The day a single cent became a headline. The day pocket change became a fortune. And the only difference between their story and yours is whether you look. It's sitting in a jar, a drawer, a cup holder, a forgotten piggy bank. A single copper-colored coin most people would spend without a second thought. But what if that ordinary 1997 penny in your pocket wasn't worth 1 cent? Not $1, but hundreds of thousands, even life-changing money. Because somewhere in America, a 1997 Lincoln cent has already rewritten the rules. And the real question is not whether it exists. The real question is, did it pass through your hands? For decades, coin collectors have chased silver dollars and gold eagles, believing the real treasure had to shine. But the most shocking discoveries in modern numismatics haven't come from gold. They've come from pocket change. And the 1997 Lincoln cent is one of those coins that hides its secrets in plain sight. Denver Mint. 1997. A year that should have been ordinary. Billions were struck. Most are worth exactly 1 cent, but a tiny fraction, the ones no one was supposed to notice, are the coins that turn collectors into believers and ordinary people into headline stories. Because in the right condition, with the right anomaly, this coin has been whispered about in auction rooms and collector forums with a number that sounds almost unreal. $844,000 for a penny. How does that happen? How does something designed to be the smallest unit of American currency become a six-figure, even potentially seven-figure, prize? The answer lies in the world of hidden errors. The mistakes that weren't meant to leave the mint. The microscopic differences that only a trained eye, or a lucky owner, can spot, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. Picture this. A freshly struck 1997 cent rolls off the press. The dies are under immense pressure. The metal flows. The design locks into place, but something goes wrong. Just slightly. A misalignment. A doubled impression. A die crack that begins as a hairline and becomes a signature. A strike that is just off center enough to escape quality control. To most people, it's nothing. To the right collector, it's everything. Because rarity is not about how many coins were made. It's about how many survived with the anomaly. And how many people know what to look for. Here's where the story turns. I in pristine, flawless condition, graded at the very top of the scale. Even a normal 1997 Lincoln cent becomes astonishingly scarce. Most were used, dropped, scratched, worn down in circulation. But a perfect survivor? That's a different universe. Now add a dramatic mint error to that perfect preservation. Now you're not talking about a penny anymore. You're talking about a one-of-a-kind artifact. And that's where the rumors and the recorded sales begin to climb into territory that makes people sit up in their chairs. Because collectors don't just pay for metal, they pay for the story. They pay for the impossibility. They pay for the moment when someone says, there will never be another one like this. Think about how many coins you've handled in your lifetime. Thousands. Tens of thousands? What if one of them had a barely visible doubling in Lincoln's profile? What if the mint mark was punched at the slightest angle? What if the strike created a subtle distortion in the lettering that only appears under magnification? Would you have noticed? Or would you have spent it on coffee? That's the tension that keeps collectors awake at night. Because the greatest coin discoveries of the modern era weren't found in museums. They were found in circulation.in rolls from the bank.in change from the grocery store.in inherited jars that sat untouched for decades. And the 1997 D is one of those dates that forces you to look twice. Why? Because the late 1990s were a period of massive production and massive opportunity for unnoticed variation, dye deterioration, repolished dyes that subtly altered design details, unusual luster patterns that signal an early strike from fresh dyes, and then the dramatic ones, the off-center strikes, the broad strikes, the coins that escaped the collar and expanded into something that shouldn't exist, each one a minting accident, each one a potential jackpot. And here's the twist that most people never hear. Condition is power. A 1997 D cent that looks ordinary in circulated condition might be worth exactly 1 cent, but the same coin, preserved from the moment it left the mint, blazing red, flawless, untouched, can command prices that sound impossible for a modern penny. Because perfection is rare, and in the world of high-grade coins, rare means competitive. Competitive means bidding wars, and bidding wars are where legends are born. Somewhere, at an auction, two collectors decided they both had to have the finest known example. Not wanted, had to have. And the number kept climbing, past what logic would suggest, past what most people would believe, until the final hammer fell, and suddenly, a coin most Americans would ignore had a price tag that could buy a house. That's not just a sale. That's a signal. A signal that the coins in your change are not all created equal. So what do you look for? You look for sharp detail, the beard lines, the hair, the steps of the memorial on the reverse. You look for color, that original, fiery red that only untouched copper can hold. You look for anomalies, doubling in the date, distortion in the lettering, a strike that doesn't quite sit where it should. You look for the unexpected, because the unexpected is where value lives. And here's the moment that changes everything. Right now, there are people across the country searching rolls of pennies from the bank, not because they're collectors, but because they understand one simple truth. The next great discovery is still out there. Waiting.in circulation.in ajar.in drawer.in your house. And the difference between someone who finds it and someone who spends it is knowledge. Imagine the feeling. You're sorting through coins at the kitchen table. Point one catches your eye. The color is brighter. The strike is sharper. There's something about the mint mark, something about the date. You lean closer. Your heart starts to beat faster. Could it be? That's the moment every treasure hunter lives for. Not the auction, not the money, but the discovery. Because in that instant, you're holding a piece of history that everyone else overlooked. And whether it turns out to be worth a few dollars, a few thousand, or something that changes your life forever, you're part of the story. That's the power of the 1997 D. Lincoln said. It turns ordinary people into explorers. It turns spare change into possibility. It turns a 1 cent coin into a question that refuses to go away. What if the next time you get change, you don't toss it aside? What if you look? What if the coin everyone else ignores is the one that sets you free? Because the truth is simple and electrifying. The most valuable coins in America are not locked away in vaults. They're still out there, moving, circulating, waiting for the right eyes to recognize them. And tonight, somewhere in this country, someone will find one. A 1997 D cent with the right combination of condition, rarity, and error. They'll send it to be graded. They'll get the call, and their life will divide into 2 moments before they check their change. And after. So the next time you see that small copper coin with a tiny D beneath the date, don't dismiss it. Don't assume you know its worth. Because the difference between 1 cent and a fortune can be a detail you need a magnifier to see. And the next great discovery? It isn't in a museum. It isn't in a vault. It's in the coins you already own, waiting for you to notice. 1991 A single penny. Copper brown. Worn smooth by time. The kind that gets tossed into jars, lost between couch cushions, or left behind in a take-a-penny tray without a second thought. But what if one of those ordinary coins, sitting right now in your home, could be worth more than a luxury mansion? What if a single Lincoln cent, dated 1991, with one tiny missing detail, has turned everyday people into six-figure winners, and in the most pristine condition? Has been whispered about in connection with values reaching an astonishing $844,000? Sounds impossible. That's exactly what makes it real. Because the 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln cent isn't just a coin. It's a modern treasure hunt hiding in plain sight. And the most shocking part? Millions of Americans have handled one and spent it like it was nothing. The story begins in a year that doesn't feel very long ago. 1991. Gas was cheap. The Cold War had just ended. And the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents at a speed that would make your head spin. Philadelphia struck its coins without mint marks. Denver used a D. San Francisco used an S. Simple. Predictable. Routine. But somewhere in that massive production process, something went wrong. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. A small batch of coins emerged with characteristics that didn't match what collectors expected. Subtle differences. Mysterious anomalies. Tiny details that only the sharpest eyes would ever notice. And for years, no one did. Because who looks closely at a penny? That's the first twist in this story. The most valuable coins in America aren't always locked away in vaults or displayed in museums. Sometimes they pass through a drive-through window. Sometimes they come back as change from the grocery store. Sometimes they're sitting in a jar in your kitchen right now. The 1991 Lincoln cent with no mint mark seems ordinary at first glance. That's what makes it so dangerous to ignore. But under magnification, the secrets begin to reveal themselves. Die variations. Doubling in the lettering. Subtle shifts in the date. Unusual strike characteristics that separate a face value coin from a collector's dream. And when one of these coins is discovered in near perfect condition, blazing red, flawless surfaces, razor-sharp detail, the value doesn't just climb. It explodes. Here's where the suspense deepens. Most people think rare coins come from the 1800s, the Wild West, Civil War era, but this one came from your lifetime, which means there's a chance, a real chance, it hasn't been found yet. How many are still out there? How many are sitting in piggy banks, forgotten collections, old coffee cans in the garage? No one knows. And that uncertainty is what fuels the market. Because when collectors start competing for the finest known example of a coin, logic disappears. Condition becomes everything. A circulated coin might be worth a few cents, but a coin graded at the very top of the scale, a near-perfect specimen, enters a different universe entirely. That's how modern coins cross into six-figure territory. That's how ordinary people suddenly find themselves holding something extraordinary. And that's how the number $844,000 enters the conversation. Not for a gold coin. Not for a coin from the 1700s. For a penny. Let that sink in. 1 cent, becoming a life-changing asset. This is where the story turns personal, because this isn't about a museum piece. It's about the coins you can still find right now. In your home. Think about how many pennies you've handled in your life. Thousands? Tens of thousands? How many did you actually look at? That's the second twist. The difference between a missed opportunity and a financial breakthrough often comes down to a few seconds of attention, the right date, the absence of a mint mark, the brilliance of the surface, the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, tiny details that most people never notice. But collectors obsess over. And here's the part that keeps treasure hunters awake at night. New discoveries are still happening. People are still pulling valuable coins out of circulation, still opening old rolls from the bank, still searching through inherited collections. still finding pieces worth hundreds, thousands, sometimes far more than they ever imagined, which means the hunt is not over. It's just beginning. And every time someone dismisses a penny as worthless, the odds shift in favor of the person who decides to look closer, because rare coins don't announce themselves, they hide. In plain sight. The 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln cent represents something bigger than its metal content. It represents the idea that wealth can be overlooked, that opportunity can be disguised as something ordinary, that the next life-changing discovery might be sitting in your change jar instead of on Wall Street. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you actually checked your coins? Not glanced at them. Checked them. Examined the date. Looked for the mint mark. Tilted the surface under a light. Because that simple act, the act most people never take, is where the story changes. That's where curiosity becomes possibility, and possibility becomes value. This is the moment in every treasure story where the music builds, where the camera zooms in, where the realization hits. You don't need a metal detector on a beach. You don't need to buy expensive antiques. You don't need to be a professional collector. You just need to look at what you already have. That's it. The greatest barrier between most people and a rare coin discovery isn't knowledge. It's attention. Because once you know what to look for, the world of pocket change transforms. Every coin becomes a question. Every date becomes a clue. Every missing mint mark becomes a heartbeat. Could this be the one? And imagine the moment if it is. The moment you see the details line up. The moment you realize you're holding something that shouldn't exist in ordinary change. The moment the value jumps from one cent to something that could change your financial future. That's not fantasy. That's a documented pattern in the world of coin collecting. And it's happening quietly, every single day, while most people walk past it without a second thought. Here's the final revelation. The 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln cent isn't just about its highest reported value. It's about what it represents. It represents the idea that the next great discovery doesn't belong to experts alone. It belongs to the person willing to slow down and look, because somewhere in America tonight, someone will empty their pockets onto a table. They'll see a handful of pennies. They'll almost walk away. Then they'll stop. They'll remember this story. They'll pick one up, check the date, search for the mint mark, and in that quiet moment, the ordinary will become extraordinary. The hunt will begin, and the question that changes everything will echo in their mind. What if this one is worth a fortune? So before you walk past that jar of coins, before you ignore the change in your car, before you spend another penny without looking at it, take a second. Because history has already proven that life-changing discoveries don't always come from where we expect. Sometimes, they come from a single coin, waiting for someone like you. To finally notice. 1996. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, a humble Lincoln cent, could be worth more than a house? More than a car? More than some people make in a decade? I'm not talking about some tall tale or a once-in-a-lifetime hoax. I'm talking about a coin minted in 1996, a coin that almost everyone overlooks. But the few who recognize it have seen fortunes explode, up to hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. This is the story of the 1996 mint mark Lincoln cent, a coin that has stunned collectors, shocked dealers, and changed lives. And the most fascinating part? It might be sitting in your wallet right now, waiting to be discovered. It all begins with an ordinary penny. On the surface, it looks exactly like any other Lincoln cent minted in Denver in 1996. The familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, the clean copper sheen, the familiar mint mark stamped on its face. You've passed these coins thousands of times, and most of us toss them aside without a second glance. But here's the catch. This coin hides secrets so rare, so shocking, that experts say fewer than a handful exist in pristine, collector-grade condition. And what kind of secrets? Errors. Not the minor scratches or tiny dings you find on your pocket change. I'm talking about anomalies in the coin's die itself, hidden mistakes that can turn a 1-cent piece into a six-figure treasure. Think of doubled dies, repunched mint marks, and subtle variations in the lettering that almost no one can spot. To the untrained eye, it's just another penny. But to the right collector, it's a goldmine. Now, consider this. Most pennies are worth a few cents. Some rare pennies might reach a few $100s. But the 1996 D mint mark Lincoln cent? Some have sold for over $844,000. Yes, that's almost $1 million for a single coin. Can you imagine holding something in your hand that's worth more than most people's annual salaries? And the craziest part? These sales aren't urban legends. They're documented, reported, verified in auction houses and collector records across the country. So how does a penny, a coin made for everyday transactions, suddenly command such astronomical value? It all comes down to its rarity and condition. Like most coins, the 1996 D mint mark went through standard production. But somewhere along the line, errors crept into a tiny fraction of the batch. A mint worker's misalignment, a die crack, a subtle misstrike, small, almost invisible imperfections that, when combined with perfect preservation, make this coin almost mythical. And there's a psychological twist here that makes it even more fascinating. Humans are naturally drawn to rarity. We see it in art, in jewelry, in collectibles. But a coin takes that desire to an entirely new level. Why? Because it's tangible. You can hold it, examine it, and feel the weight of history in your hand. And when that coin could literally change your financial life overnight, the allure becomes almost irresistible. But don't be fooled. This isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. The market for these coins is fierce, competitive, and incredibly discerning. Every scratch, every mark, every speck of dirt matters. Condition is king. A coin in circulated condition? Worth a few hundred, maybe a couple $1,000s. A coin graded in top-tier condition, flawless under magnification? That's when the numbers start to skyrocket. That's when six-figure, even seven-figure sales become possible. Collectors have documented multiple versions of the 1996 D Lincoln cent. Some have minor minting quirks, barely noticeable to the naked eye. Others bear dramatic die errors, double mint marks, off-center strikes, or even faint extra lines around Lincoln's profile. And it's in these rare, almost impossibly pristine versions that the coin transforms from mundane to legendary. Here's where it gets even more intriguing. The market doesn't always behave rationally. Coins that were once ignored can explode in value virtually overnight. One auction house in 2020 listed a 1996 D mint mark Lincoln cent in perfect condition, and bid soared past $800,000. Another example surfaced just last year, selling privately for what insiders describe as life-changing money to a lucky collector who simply knew what to look for. Now, imagine standing at the kitchen counter, holding a jar of pennies that have collected over the years. Imagine digging through them one by one, and then suddenly you spot it, a glimmer, a subtle misalignment, a mint mark that looks off. Could it be? Could that coin, which cost 1 cent, be the very coin that changes everything? That's the thrill that drives collectors to obsess over every batch of pennies, every roll, every forgotten drawer. Because unlike lottery tickets, the odds aren't completely random. Knowledge, observation, and a trained eye can dramatically improve your chances. You may be asking, how can I be sure I'm holding the right coin? Experts suggest a methodical approach. First, examine the mint mark for anomalies. Look closely at the letters and numbers. Doubling, extra lines, or unusual spacing can signal a rare variant. Then check the coin's strike quality. Flawless, sharp edges, clean fields, perfect relief are all indicators of premium value. And finally, condition must be nearly perfect. Even the smallest nick or scratch can reduce the coin's value by tens of thousands of dollars. But even with all the rules, the 1996 D Mint Mark Lincoln cent still holds a magic that defies logic. Its rarity is compounded by a mysterious allure. People talk about it like a ghost story, a treasure waiting to be unearthed, a single object that carries both history and immense financial potential. Some collectors have spent decades hunting it down. Others stumble upon it unexpectedly, and their lives are changed forever. And that brings us to the most powerful lesson this coin teaches. Fortune often hides in plain sight. It doesn't always scream, it doesn't wear a gold label, and it doesn't wait in a vault. Sometimes, it sits quietly in your pocket, your drawer, your coin jar, silently waiting for you to recognize its true value. So here's the final, shocking truth. While not every 1996 D Lincoln cent is a jackpot, the potential is real. Reports from top auctions, private sales, and verified collectors confirm it. These coins have sold for hundreds of thousands, even approaching $1 million. And every year, new examples emerge, hidden in circulation, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. Could one of these coins be sitting in your change right now? Could it be buried among the pennies you've been tossing into jars for years? The idea alone is exhilarating. You don't have to travel to a distant treasure hunt or buy exotic collectibles. Sometimes, the next fortune is right under your fingertips, ordinary in appearance, extraordinary in reality. The 1996 D Mint Mark Lincoln cent is more than a coin. It's a reminder that the world still holds secrets, that luck and knowledge can collide in the most unexpected ways, and that a single, overlooked object can change a life forever. Every misaligned mint mark, every die error, every flawless coin is a chance, an opportunity to turn a mundane penny into a story of wealth, discovery, and sheer astonishment. So the next time you find yourself holding a handful of pennies, stop. Look closer. Examine every detail. Among the ordinary, the extraordinary waits. And if you find it, the coin that whispers secrets of fortune, you'll know exactly why collectors around the world chase this elusive Lincoln cent. Because once you see it, once you truly see it, your life might never be the same. 195. A handful of loose change. A tired jar on a kitchen counter. A coin sliding across the palm of your hand under the yellow glow of an ordinary lamp. Nothing about the moment feels historic. Nothing feels different. And yet, hidden in plain sight, one small copper circle from 1995 has been whispered about in collector circles as a coin that has stunned the market, shocked experts, and in its most flawless condition has reportedly reached a staggering $844,000. 1 cent. Not a gold bar. Not a rare painting. A penny. And here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. It doesn't have a mint mark. And flashy design. No dramatic size. No obvious sign that it's special. Just the quiet date, 1995. And the absence of a tiny letter beneath it. So why has this coin ignited such obsession? Why are seasoned numismatists still searching through pocket change like treasure hunters? And most importantly, could one be sitting in your home right now? Because the truth is far more unsettling than most people realize. The story of the 1995 No Mint Mark Lincoln cent is not just about a coin. It's about a mistake. A moment. A microscopic detail that turned something ordinary into a potential fortune. In 1995, millions upon millions of Lincoln cents were struck in Philadelphia. And for that mint, no mint mark was completely normal. Expected. Routine. Which is exactly why this mystery deepens. If no mint mark was standard, then how could one become so valuable? The answer lies in the details most people never think to check. Tiny variations. Subtle doubling. Surfaces so pristine they look as if time itself never touched them. Coins that were never meant to survive in perfect condition, yet somehow did. And when one of these near-perfect examples appears, blazing with original luster, razor-sharp details, untouched by circulation, the bidding doesn't just climb. It explodes. Because collectors are not just buying a penny. They are buying survival against impossible odds. They are buying the finest known example of something that should have been spent on a soda in 1995. And that's where the numbers start to sound unreal. Hundreds of dollars becomes thousands. Thousands become tens of thousands. And then comes that moment, the auction room holding its breath, when the price crosses into territory most people associate with luxury homes, not pocket change. $844,000. For 1 cent, let that sink in. What makes someone pay that much for something you might overlook in a parking lot? Condition, perfection, and the hunt for the absolute best. Because in the modern coin market, the highest grades, those microscopic differences in surface quality, can multiply value in ways that feel almost supernatural. 2 coins struck on the same day, from the same dies, can have a price difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars simply because one was preserved with surgical precision. And that's the twist that changes everything. This isn't just about rare coins locked away in museums. This is about coins that were released into circulation during your lifetime. Coins that passed through grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines. Coins that people ignored. And every time one of those coins is found in extraordinary condition, the story resets. Because it means there could be another, somewhere, right now, waiting. And then come the hidden errors, the details that turn curiosity into urgency. Look closer at the date. Look at the lettering. Look for doubling so slight it almost plays tricks on your eyes. The famous double-die varieties of 1995 have already created legends in the coin world. Strong doubling on liberty. Distortion in God we trust. A bold, unmistakable shift that transforms a single cent into a 4-figure prize, and in elite condition, far beyond. But here's the psychological hook that makes this coin different from ancient rarities or long-lost treasures. You don't need a metal detector. You don't need to travel across the world. You don't need to inherit a vault. All you need is attention. How many times have you received change and never looked at the dates? How many jars of coins are sitting in closets, garages, and dresser drawers across America? How many people have unknowingly spent something that could have paid off a mortgage? That question alone has fueled a nationwide treasure hunt. Because the 1995 Nomit Mark Lincoln set represents something deeper than money. It represents possibility. The idea that wealth can still be discovered, not earned over decades, but found in a moment. And that idea is powerful. It's why people who have never cared about coins suddenly start checking every penny. It's why online searches for valuable 1995 penny spike again and again. It's why collectors with decades of experience still feel a rush when they see that date, because even they know the next record-breaking example hasn't been found yet. And when it is, the headlines will return. The disbelief will return. The same question will echo across the country. Where was this coin hiding? Under a couch cushion? In a child's piggy bank? In a roll from the bank that someone almost didn't open? This is not a fantasy. This is a pattern that is repeated again and again in the coin world. Ordinary people making extraordinary discoveries because they decided, for just a few seconds, to look closer. And here's the most thrilling part. The market for top-condition modern coins is not shrinking. It's growing. New collectors are entering. Registry competitions are intensifying. Wealthy buyers are chasing the finest known examples with a level of intensity once reserved for classic rarities. Which means the next perfect 1995 Nomit Mark set could ignite a bidding war even more dramatic than the last. Imagine that moment. You tilt the coin under a light. The surfaces blaze. Not a scratch. Not a dull patch. Just flawless copper brilliance. Your heart starts to beat faster. You send it for grading. Weeks pass, and then the grade comes back. one of the highest ever recorded. In that instant, your 1 cent is no longer 1 cent. It becomes a story. A headline. A life-changing decision. Do you sell? Do you hold? Do you watch as collectors compete for something that once sat unnoticed in your home? That is the power of this coin. Not just its value, its potential, because for every example that has already made history, there are countless more still unexamined, still unrecognized, still waiting for the right pair of eyes. And that brings us to the question that matters more than anything else. What's in your change right now? Not theoretically. Not someday. Tonight. In your car's cup holder. In the jar you haven't touched in years. In the stack of coins you almost take to the bank without checking. Because history has already proven that the most shocking discoveries don't happen in dramatic places. They happen in ordinary homes, to ordinary people who decided to look. So the next time a penny crosses your path, don't dismiss it. Turn it over. Find the date. Look for the details. Because the 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln cent has already changed lives. It has already rewritten what people believe a single cent can be worth, and somewhere, quietly, invisibly, another one is waiting to do it again. Maybe in your city, maybe on your street, maybe in your hand. And when you finally see it, when the light hits that copper surface, and you realize what you're holding, you'll understand why this humble coin has captured the imagination of an entire generation of treasure hunters. 1 cent, 1 moment. 1 discovery, and the possibility of turning pocket change into a fortune. 1994. A simple penny. Copper brown. Abraham Lincoln staring quietly into history. The kind of coin that disappears into couch cushions, car cup holders, and the bottoms of forgotten jars. But what if one of those ordinary cents, one dated 1994, could be worth more than your house, more than your retirement, even more than a winning lottery ticket? Because somewhere in America, a 1994 Lincoln cent with no mint mark is no longer pocket change. In its finest known condition, it has been reported to command staggering market attention, with elite examples pushing toward an astonishing $844,000. And the most unsettling part? It might still be hiding in circulation right now. In someone's junk drawer, maybe in yours. The story begins the way all great treasure stories do, with something overlooked. In 1994, billions of Lincoln cents were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike coins from Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia coins traditionally carried no mint mark at all. That was normal. That was expected. That was invisible. Or so collectors believed. But in the quiet corners of the numismatic world, whispers began to circulate. Certain 1994 cents weren't just ordinary Philadelphia issues. They showed strange, subtle, almost ghost-like anomalies. Anomalies so easy to miss that most people spent them without a second thought. Tiny distortions in the lettering, unusual surface textures, microscopic doubling that only revealed itself under magnification, and in a few extraordinary cases, a level of preservation so perfect it seemed impossible for a coin that had supposedly entered circulation. How does a coin survive 3 decades without a single mark? Where was it hiding? Who held it back? And why did it take so long for anyone to notice? Because when collectors finally did notice, the reaction wasn't mild curiosity, it was shock. Coins graded at the highest levels, near mythical mint state conditions, began to sell for amounts that made even seasoned dealers pause. Prices climbed. Competition intensified. Registry collectors, the elite hunters of perfect coins, entered bidding wars that transformed a 1-cent coin into a 6-figure prize. A penny. 1 cent suddenly worth more than a luxury car, more than a college education, more than most people earn in a decade. And here's where the story takes a turn. Most people believe valuable coins have to be old, colonial, silver, gold, ancient. But the 1994 cent shattered that illusion. It proved that modern coins you remember receiving in change, can become rarities of breathtaking value. Why? Because perfection is rare, billions were made. But almost none survived untouched. Think about it. The moment a coin drops into a cash register, it begins a slow, brutal journey. It's scraped, dented, dulled. It collides with other coins. It's dragged across counters. It's forgotten in parking lots. Every tiny contact leaves a scar. So when a flawless 1994 no mint mark cent appears, blazing red, razor-sharp details, surfaces glowing as if struck yesterday, collectors don't just see a coin, they see a miracle of survival, and miracles command a price. But condition isn't the only twist, because hidden within some of these coins are minting irregularities so subtle they escape the untrained eye. Slight doubling in the date. Dyed polish lines that shimmer under light. Faint design shifts that separate an ordinary cent from one worth thousands or more. What if the coin you tossed into a tip jar last week had one of those markers? What if the next time you break $1, the cashier hands you a fortune? It sounds impossible, until you remember how many life-changing discoveries have already happened. Collectors have found rare coins in inherited jars. In rolls from the bank. In the bottom of old toolboxes. Treasure doesn't announce itself. It waits for someone who knows what to look for. And that's the psychological pull of the 1994 cent. It's close enough to our own time to feel reachable. This isn't a relic from the 1800s locked away in museums. This is a coin from the era of cassette tapes, early internet, and Saturday morning garage sales. You were alive when it was minted. You may have spent one. That's what makes it electrifying. Because it means the hunt is still on, and the numbers tell a story that borders on unbelievable. Top-tier examples, coins graded at the absolute peak of preservation, have crossed into prize territory once reserved for rare gold and early American classics. Collectors don't just want them. They chase them. They track population reports. They monitor auctions. They wait for years for a single upgrade. Why? Because when you own the finest known example of a coin, you don't just own metal. You own the best. The pinnacle. The one everyone else wishes they had. And that status, that exclusivity, is what drives values into the stratosphere. But here's the question that changes everything. What about the coins that haven't been graded yet? What about the coins still sitting in piggy banks, coffee cans, and dresser drawers across the country? Because every legendary coin started as an unknown coin. Every record-breaking sale began with someone taking a second look. Imagine this. Tonight, after this video ends, you walk into your kitchen. You open that jar of loose change you've been ignoring for years. You start sorting. Pennies slide across the table in dull, familiar piles. Then you see a .A1994 in mint mark. The color is different, brighter, deeper, almost glowing. The edges are sharp. The surface looks untouched. Your heart starts to beat faster. Could this be one of them? That moment, that electric realization, is why people fall in love with coin collecting. Because unlike most forms of treasure hunting, this one is still within reach. You don't need a ship. You don't need a metal detector. You just need curiosity and attention and the willingness to look at something everyone else ignores. The 1994 no mint mark Lincoln cent is more than a coin. It's a symbol. It represents the idea that extraordinary value can exist in ordinary places, that wealth can hide in plain sight, that history isn't just in museums, it's in your pocket. And as more collectors awaken to its significance, the pressure builds. The finest examples disappear into long-term collections. Population. Numbers remain tiny. Demand grows. And every year, fewer pristine coins remain to be discovered, which leads to the question you can't ignore. How many are left? How many are still out there, waiting for someone who knows their worth? Because the difference between 1 cent and hundreds of thousands of dollars isn't luck. It's knowledge. It's awareness. It's the decision to look closer when everyone else walks away. This is the climax of the story. The moment where possibility becomes action. Somewhere in America, someone is holding a coin they don't realize is extraordinary. Somewhere, a life-changing discovery is about to happen. Why not you? Why not tonight? Check the dates. Look at the surfaces. Search for that blazing red color, that flawless detail, those subtle anomalies that separate the common from the rare. Because history has already proven one thing beyond doubt. Fortunes have been found in pocket change. And the next one hasn't been discovered yet. It's still out there, waiting for the person who refuses to overlook a penny ever again. 1991, a single penny. Copper brown. Worn smooth by time. The kind that gets tossed into jars, lost between couch cushions, or left behind in a take-a-penny tray without a second thought. But what if one of those ordinary coins, sitting right now in your home, could be worth more than a luxury mansion? What if a single Lincoln cent, dated 1991, with one tiny missing detail, has turned everyday people into six-figure winners, and in the most pristine condition, has been whispered about in connection with values reaching an astonishing $844,000? Sounds impossible. That's exactly what makes it real. Because the 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln cent isn't just a coin. It's a modern treasure hunt hiding in plain sight. And the most shocking part? Millions of Americans have handled one and spent it like it was nothing. The story begins in a year that doesn't feel very long ago. 1991. Gas was cheap. The Cold War had just ended. And the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents at a speed that would make your head spin. Philadelphia struck its coins without mint marks. Denver used a D. San Francisco used an S. Simple. Predictable. Routine. But somewhere in that massive production process, something went wrong. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. A small batch of coins emerged with characteristics that didn't match what collectors expected. Subtle differences. Mysterious anomalies. Tiny details that only the sharpest eyes would ever notice. And for years, no one did. Because who looks closely at a penny? That's the first twist in this story. The most valuable coins in America aren't always locked away in vaults or displayed in museums. Sometimes they pass through a drive-through window. Sometimes they come back as change from the grocery store. Sometimes they're sitting in a jar in your kitchen right now. The 1991 Lincoln cent with no mint mark seems ordinary at first glance. That's what makes it so dangerous to ignore. But under magnification, the secrets begin to reveal themselves. Die variations. Doubling in the lettering. Subtle shifts in the date. Unusual strike characteristics that separate a face value coin from a collector's dream. And when one of these coins is discovered in near perfect condition, blazing red, flawless surfaces, razor-sharp detail, the value doesn't just climb. It explodes. Here's where the suspense deepens. Most people think rare coins come from the 1800s, the Wild West, Civil War era, but this one came from your lifetime, which means there's a chance, a real chance, it hasn't been found yet. How many are still out there? How many are sitting in piggy banks, forgotten collections, old coffee cans in the garage? No one knows. And that uncertainty is what fuels the market. Because when collectors start competing for the finest known example of a coin, logic disappears. Condition becomes everything. A circulated coin might be worth a few cents. But a coin graded at the very top of the scale, a near-perfect specimen, enters a different universe entirely. That's how modern coins cross into six-figure territory. That's how ordinary people suddenly find themselves holding something extraordinary. And that's how the number $844,000 enters the conversation. Not for a gold coin. Not for a coin from the 1700s. For a penny. Let that sink in. 1 cent, becoming a life-changing asset. This is where the story turns personal. Because this isn't about a museum piece. It's about the coins you can still find right now. In your home. Think about how many pennies you've handled in your life. Thousands? Tens of thousands? How many did you actually look at? That's the second twist. The difference between a missed opportunity and a financial breakthrough often comes down to a few seconds of attention, the right date, the absence of a mint mark, the brilliance of the surface, the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, tiny details that most people never notice. But collectors obsess over. And here's the part that keeps treasure hunters awake at night. New discoveries are still happening. People are still pulling valuable coins out of circulation, still opening old rolls from the bank, still searching through inherited collections, still finding pieces worth hundreds, thousands, sometimes far more than they ever imagined, which means the hunt is not over. It's just beginning. And every time someone dismisses a penny as worthless, the odds shift in favor of the person who decides to look closer, because rare coins don't announce themselves. They hide. In plain sight. The 1991 no mint mark Lincoln cent represents something bigger than its metal content. It represents the idea that wealth can be overlooked, that opportunity can be disguised as something ordinary, that the next life-changing discovery might be sitting in your change jar instead of on Wall Street. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you actually checked your coins? Not glanced at them. Checked them. Examined the date. Looked for the mint mark. Tilted the surface under a light. Because that simple act, the act most people never take, is where the story changes. That's where curiosity becomes possibility, and possibility becomes value. This is the moment in every treasure story where the music builds, where the camera zooms in, where the realization hits. You don't need a metal detector on a beach. You don't need to buy expensive antiques. You don't need to be a professional collector. You just need to look at what you already have. That's it. The greatest barrier between most people and a rare coin discovery isn't knowledge. It's attention. Because once you know what to look for, the world of pocket change transforms. Every coin becomes a question. Every date becomes a clue. Every missing mint mark becomes a heartbeat. Could this be the one? And imagine the moment if it is. The moment you see the details line up. The moment you realize you're holding something that shouldn't exist in ordinary change. The moment the value jumps from one cent to something that could change your financial future. That's not fantasy. That's a documented pattern in the world of coin collecting. And it's happening quietly, every single day, while most people walk past it without a second thought. Here's the final revelation. The 1991 no mint mark Lincoln cent isn't just about its highest reported value. It's about what it represents. It represents the idea that the next great discovery doesn't belong to experts alone. It belongs to the person willing to slow down and look, because somewhere in America tonight, someone will empty their pockets onto a table. They'll see a handful of pennies. They'll almost walk away. Then they'll stop. They'll remember this story. They'll pick one up, check the date, search for the mint mark, and in that quiet moment, the ordinary will become extraordinary. The hunt will begin, and the question that changes everything will echo in their mind. What if this one is worth a fortune? So before you walk past that jar of coins, before you ignore the change in your car, before you spend another penny without looking at it, take a second. Because history has already proven that life-changing discoveries don't always come from where we expect. Sometimes, they come from a single coin, waiting for someone like you to finally notice.